it's funded by the Police Transformation Fund, so in collaboration with MOPAC and the Open University, so the Centre for Police Research and Learning. I'm going to try and keep it to 20 minutes. Richard will sort of hook me off if I go on for too long. So just to give you an overall kind of view of the project and what we've kind of been doing over the last sort of year and a half, because we're coming towards the end point of the project, is that the aim of the project was to really kind of try and support police forces across England and Wales develop their kind of, their learning development function in line with kind of Policing Vision 2025. So that's kind of the underlying aim of the project. And really is to try and provide some form of kind of organisational support to police forces to kind of try and think about that environment of improving learning and development, which we've heard a lot about this morning, and strengthening kind of learning and development provision across England and Wales. But also to kind of look at things like evidence-based practice and how we can draw that into kind of teaching and learning. The methodology of the research has been a very kind of action research oriented project, and some of you in the room will know what action research is. For those of you that don't, it's a very much kind of a methodology that really is inclusive. So it's about participatory action research where we've engaged with forces throughout, from the start of the project, throughout the kind of research we've done. We've always had kind of practitioners involved in every stage, and we've continually engaged. And I think Robin talked about how MOPAC have engaged at a very strategic national level. From the Open Universities, we've engaged extensively with different forces across England and Wales, but also externally. So we've also looked at places like Police Service Northern Ireland. We've done we've had some contact with the British Transport Police. So we're trying to kind of look at different examples elsewhere. And we're trying to kind of think about learning development in a very sort of looking at the context and mechanisms. So how can we kind of support that and think about kind of outcomes of learning development? So that's what we're trying to do. So again, just the aim, and we've undertaken quite a large programme of work, but that's how it feels to me anyway. So we've done a baseline survey, which was right at the start of the project. So within that baseline survey, some of you may have completed it, was to look at really how, where people felt that they were at in relation to learning development in line with Policing Vision 2025. So how ready did police organisations feel in order to meet the demands set out with that and workforce transformation. We've also looked at financial data, really to think about that, well, what do we actually spend on learning development, where does it go, and what is the actual outcome, because actually we've kind of found not that many organisations have a view of the financial kind of aspect of the investment and return on investment. We've engaged in a number of national network events, one of which is obviously today. We've held one in Manchester, we've had one in London, and we'll have a final event which will be in September, and you're all welcome to attend that. So, that will talk about kind of the end of the project. We're currently doing an endline survey, so we're trying to really look at that kind of change that's happened over the sort of 18 months of the project. So where do people feel that they are on this kind of journey of learning and development? What transformation has taken place? And it was really interesting to hear this morning about some of the activities that are happening here, particularly because we are starting to see that transformation. So we want to see really the number of forces that are engaging in those changes. And I was talking to Tom at lunchtime about that digital learning. So these kind of promising practices are happening. So how can we think about that? And again, the network events really help with that, how we can spread that kind of promising practice. We're also kind of developing a destination map at the moment. I'm not going to steal Richard's thunder because Richard's going to talk about the destination map in the next presentation. But that is really kind of mapped out what we think police forces really need to kind of think about to enhance and to embed learning development within the organisation. And currently we're developing a strategic narrative. So this really is about trying to create a narrative around learning and development. I think we start to create some of that narrative this morning about actually, how do we ensure that some of this stuff starts to be recognised at an executive level. LED practitioners are engaged in this stuff, and we've quite clearly got examples of that, but there are people who aren't. So how do we actually engage executive teams? how do we engage the kind of front line? So we need to create a narrative, a story around the importance of learning development moving forward. So we're currently engaged in a piece of work drawn from our findings and creating a narrative around that. Okay, so I'm just going to go quickly through some of the survey findings. So this is the baseline survey, and we found very much at the beginning of the project that, you know, overall, quite a small amount of forces felt that they were prepared for the workforce transformation that they were being expected to achieve through sort of Policing Vision 2025. So only about a fifth of forces felt they were prepared for the journey ahead. Quite a high proportion, about half of the forces we spoke to, felt that the pace of change was too fast. So the expectations with all this kind of workforce transformation were quite high, but they were happening at a fast pace. And the volume of change was too great, so quite a kind of high percentage also felt that. We looked at things like how do forces use evidence-based practice currently? So are they actually, you know, thinking about how we change practice through the use of research evidence? And again, quite low numbers felt that they were actually quite effective in actually achieving that. Again, in terms of tackling change, there was some quite interesting findings around kind of leadership. So actually, there was quite a lot of kind of response believing that executive leadership, you know, they had that kind of support from executive leadership for the transformation that was happening. So again, that's quite a positive finding. And that actually broader organisational change, so thinking about that kind of change and that shift in culture will actually kind of drive learning and development kind of forward. Quite positively, quite a high number of forces, about 75%, really felt that they wanted to upskill staff in order to kind of meet the demands and the changes that were kind of happening. And again, we've heard some of that this morning about that kind of actually happening in action. And quite a high percentage, and again, this is the benefits of the networking event, is that, you know, 96% really wanted to learn from other forces, so we can actually make sure that we can share that kind of promising practice across the UK. Again, still uncertainty, although we have some positive responses from the baseline survey. There was about a third of forces felt they didn't really know why change was happening, so they couldn't really think about that kind of broader picture. So they knew change was coming, but they really weren't kind of sure why. And also people weren't really convinced that, you know, Policing Vision 2025 would necessarily be implemented successfully. So, you know, some kind of good stuff happening, but also quite a lot of challenges for kind of police forces to think about. Robin mentioned earlier the paramedics, and another key bit of work that we've also done. I'm not going to focus on it too much today, but just to make you aware of it, was we did a bit of work around looking at other professions who've been on that professionalisation journey. And again, Andy Lancaster mentioned it in his talk this morning that actually, you know, in terms of policing, we are quite far behind that journey of professionalisations, and other public services like nursing and paramedics have been on that journey. So we looked at that and we thought, how can we kind of learn from them? So we did a piece of work on that, looking at kind of, you know, personal, organisational and institutional aspects of that professionalisation journey. We've created some really, I think, really great diagrams that demonstrate the length of that journey that both nursing and paramedics went through. So actually the scale and the size of the journey that's ahead of policing, I think. So a really interesting piece of work to demonstrate that, and really thinking about the organisational structures that are in place to support the professionalisation journey. And we mentioned in one of the presentations actually how those can actually act as barriers as well. So if you don't have the external support, you know, so the structures around the HMIC and how they inspect, they're also important for that. And governance structures was a huge thing about this bit of work that came out, having the most appropriate governance structures, but that they have a role that kind of supports policing in the learning and development space, and that role's, you know, appropriate. So I'm just going to move to talk about the collaborative deep dives, or I prefer to say case studies because it's a bit easier to say. So this is another key part of the research that we did. And for us, this is about trying to create an in-depth picture of what was going on in forces across the UK. So we selected 5 forces who were willing to to engage with us, to look at learning development within their particular organisation across England and Wales. These happened between September and January 2019, so September 2018 to this year. This included a range of work, so we sent the research team from the Open University, including myself and Richard, and we spent sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks in these particular kind of forces, and we did a whole kind of range of research activities. So we did focus groups, we did documentary analysis, so we looked at strategy documents, we looked at data, we did observations of training delivery and training events. I think taser training was one of my most, I really enjoyed that experience, going to see the taser training getting done. We did group exercises with staff, and within the collaborative deep dives we included people from the executive, the PCC, right down to kind of front lines, response officers, PCSOs. So it was looking at people from across the range of the organisations, because we wanted to collate everybody's views. So, you know, people who delivered learning and development, but also the people who were the customers of learning and development. So that's kind of what we did, various kind of stakeholders. Once we'd kind of done those deep dives, we gave concentrated feedback to each of the individual forces, and then we've kind of been developing reports about the findings, and I'm going to talk about some of the findings in a minute. On each of those deep dives, and again this goes back to the practitioner engagement, we had co-researchers with us, so we took co-researchers from other forces, again to get that kind of organisational perspective, so you know, a police perspective that the researchers might not kind of have. Wrong way, sorry. So one of the key parts of the research that we did was when we did interviews, observations, we actually asked people within the research to give us 5 words that they felt sort of illustrated learning development within their particular kind of force, their particular organisation, and we created these word clouds. What's really interesting, these are actually 2 of the word clouds that come from the 2 of the case studies that we did. And I don't know if looking at these you can kind of reflect on some of your own experiences of learning and development within your own organisation. The words that are bigger are the words that were repeated more often. But again, you can see that the 2 forces are quite different. So the word clouds that we created from 2 case studies are different. They have similar words, but you know, different words are kind of more prominent. And I think that's again quite an interesting finding. So I'm going to quickly talk about some of the findings and some of the key themes that came from the CVDs. So I said about context, and that's one of the things that we found, that police forces can differ, and you know, depending on if they're quite a big urban force, a metropolitan area, their population size, their geographical makeup, it can actually have an impact upon, you know, how they can operationalise things or think about things. So crime factors, political factors, historical factors, so you know, something that may have happened in a particular force can have a long-lasting impact on that organisation. So you also have to kind of take these things into consideration. Also, issues such as collaborative circumstances. So we worked with forces that collaborated on learning development. Austerity was a big issue that continually we came across and was talked about quite a lot. So the financial landscape and things like investment in learning development. So these, although we found different circumstances, different contexts, what I tried to do was try and give you just a highlight of some of the key themes that cut across all of the kind of case studies. So these are the things that we kind of constantly heard or were constantly kind of repeated within the research. So we found that there was a variety in stages of strategic development. So in some of the forces that we visited, they had a kind of clear vision about the direction that they wanted to go in with learning development. It was embedded into the strategy, so you know, it sat kind of beyond just learning development. It was actually kind of clearly within, you know, the strategy moving forward. Whereas others didn't even have a learning development strategy. So there was a real variety in experiences. Again, with executives and senior buy-in. You know, again, it was really interesting to hear the ACC talking today, and that clear kind of executive kind of buy-in and that clear sort of passion within Northumbria to drive learning development forward. we didn't find that that was common across all forces. So there was areas where that buy-in wasn't clear. Again, in terms of that, thinking about that broader vision. So some people had a plan around learning development, but it wasn't thought about in the broader context of Policing 2025, so it kind of sat alone, it wasn't embedded within the broader infrastructure of 2025. We found that there's different structures of ownership for learning development or the governance of learning development. So sometimes it sat within kind of human resources or your professional development. Other times it sat completely on its own and seemed to be sort of not thought about in terms of kind of governance structures. We found quite clearly that linked to this and that idea of professional development, that continuing professional development was frequently seen as not being encouraged or enough or sufficiently within the forces. So that idea that actually new recruits, because of the police qualifications framework we're being focused on, but in the sort of broader sort of organisation, people within the broader organisation, their continuing professional development wasn't really being considered. And that tied into also a lack of things like performance development reviews across kind of some of the places that we visited. And again, outcome measures, not always kind of evident. So actually, how do we kind of assess the change that's happening in learning development? So what are the outcomes that we set to ensure that that change is happening? So some of the challenges, and these are more specific, rather than that leadership and governance piece, are more specific to learning and development challenges. So these are some of the things that we found are a challenge. Particularly learning development departments in some of the places that we visited had been reduced in size, so reduced in the numbers of staff that they had available because of financial constraints or because of austerity. And that would, for example, lead to the reduction of things like quality insurance. So, they still have to be able to deliver training or learning, but they wouldn't have any kind of quality assurance or evaluation. Lack of facilities, so a lack of kind of infrastructure, so whether that was technology or classrooms that didn't even, we're talking about moving away from kind of classrooms, but when we do need to have kind of like classroom infrastructure, PowerPoint things that don't work, the lack of access, even to the extent that one day we went to a session and they were all sitting in their coats on because it was really cold. They had no heating in the building at all. So that idea of actually, that represents a lack of care and attention to learning and development where you can't even, put the heating on or fix the heating. So again, not really knowing what the needs of the organisation were in learning and development. We talked a little bit about learning needs analysis this morning, but again, not comprehensive, not being aware of the skills or capability of the organisation. We found a bit of a tick box mentality towards particularly digital learning, so NCAT. We kind of got signs every time we mentioned kind of NCAT, but that idea that it's not really kind of engaging and really just people are just going through the motions, so they're not actually getting that learning and it puts them off digital technology. And again, we had a really good example of where that can actually work really effectively this morning. But people have a sort of idea of how that works because of their experiences with particular products. I feel that learning and development was not always valued across the organisation, so we found that when we spoke to L&D staff, they didn't always feel that they were kind of valued, and I didn't get that impression here today. It felt that it was really kind of valued, but in some places they didn't feel that they were valued. We found, again, sometimes that learning styles were limited, so it goes back to that idea of let's just do everything in the classroom, so people didn't have that kind of broad range of different sort of teaching methodologies or styles that they could be used. L&D staff feeling marginalised in some of the places that we visited, and not really kind of having effective systems to kind of manage learning development, so not having kind of learning management systems, and more critically influenced by reactive forces. So some people could have a learning development plan, so what they're going to deliver over the next 12 months, what they need to deliver, and then something can happen, a little bit like your example of stalking and harassment this morning, and suddenly everybody needs to train and we need to drop everything else. So, that can happen on a frequent kind of basis, according to the findings. There is some positive news, I promise. It's not all negative. So we did find some really kind of good highlights in the research, and I think it's these type of findings that are really important in kind of how we move learning development forward. So there was a clear desire of and that drive to kind of change and to make learning development a critical part of the organisation. And again, I think we got some really good kind of examples of that this morning about what that looks like, and it was really refreshing to hear the ACC talk about it and Jocelyn and Colin talk about their kind of examples and how it's really a key consideration here. And we've kind of felt that we got that experience elsewhere as well, and that leads into the fact that there was quite a lot of committed staff in terms of kind of L&D experienced staff. Also kind of innovative practice, so we found really good examples of the use of virtual reality. So again, trying to think about promising practice and how we shape up delivery, how we think about delivery in a different way. Again, reflected here this morning, a good relationship with local HEIs. So we found in some areas that we looked at that there had been a really kind of strong collaboration between the universities or the HEIs in the area and the police service and the benefits that they were kind of getting from that. And again, highly skilled L&D staff with kind of relevant kind of experience and knowledge to drive L&D forward. And again, just kind of examples of really good practice that you would kind of find in HEIs actually kind of happen in some of the organisations. So, we found examples there. In terms of kind of, I'm just kind of conscious of time, so we're kind of moving on in terms of time. So, I'm going to just move on, because I think I've covered most of that. So, I'm just kind of going to go on to some of the questions that I suppose the findings for us have made us kind of think about. Because one of the critical findings from the CDDs was that often L&D is not seen as an investment, and it's kind of undervalued, and it's seen as a cost, an abstraction, and I think we heard some of that this morning. So, when we have to send people on a course or something, it's not seen as kind of beneficial to the organisation. But it's that broader kind of perspective of what learning means and how it can actually, support the organisation. It's how do we move to that kind of position, and I think really that's kind of what the aim of what we're trying to do is actually ensure that we embed learning development within the organisation. And I think, I really enjoyed Andy's talk this morning, because I think some of the things that you make it part of that ecosystem, and that's really kind of what we're trying to achieve through this kind of project, is to start that journey and start that narrative about why learning development is so important and why we need to make that investment in it. So with that in mind, this is kind of what I want you to kind of think about at your tables. Is to think about how do we ensure that learning development goes on that journey, if you like, that it becomes part of the ecosystem of the organisation. And we heard again some examples this morning, but at an individual level, so how do we create an environment where we allow people at an individual level to engage in that kind of development that they need, that continuing professional development, that lifelong journey? How do we support that? Because that's quite important. And enable them to do that. And then how do we do that at an organisational level? Because sometimes there is a sort of contradiction there, isn't it? We're talking about, well, actually, we need some people to go out and do a job. We can't afford to give them protected learning time. So, we need to kind of think about that. But because the organisational, so how do we ensure that learning development also, we think about it as an organisational whole? And I think, Justin, you were talking about that, isn't it? How do we embed it within the organisation to make it real investment? And then actually, how do we think about that as a public value? Because it is about service delivery, it's about how we deliver a better service to the communities. So how do we, through learning development and that investment in learning development, ensure that we create greater trust, greater legitimacy, and what are the outcomes? How do we measure that? How do we ensure that we get that measurement of that return on investment? How can we convince people that actually this is worthwhile doing? And what outcomes is it we want to kind of, not measure, but we want to kind of illustrate the change and the shift that we're making? Okay, so that's
perfect.
thanks.